On February 18, 2025, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order that sent ripples through the world of reproductive health care. This order, focused on in vitro fertilization, promised to expand access and lower costs for millions of Americans struggling with infertility. Coming on the heels of the landmark Roe v. Wade reversal, and amidst a wave of new restrictions on reproductive rights, the executive order ignited both hope and skepticism. Was this a genuine step towards affordable fertility treatment, or simply a political maneuver? This executive order marked a pivotal moment in the national conversation surrounding reproductive health. It brought to the forefront the often overlooked issue of infertility, forcing policymakers and the public alike to confront the financial and emotional burdens faced by countless individuals and couples. As the details of the executive order emerged, so too did a flurry of questions about its feasibility, its potential impact, and its broader political implications. The order itself was shrouded in the kind of dramatic tension that has come to define the Trump presidency. Announced via Twitter late in the evening, the news sent shockwaves through social media and cable news alike. Supporters lauded the president for addressing a critical issue that had been ignored for too long, while critics decried the move as a cynical ploy to distract from other controversies. Only time would tell what the true impact of this executive order would be. One thing was certain: the executive order had thrust the issue of IVF into the national spotlight. No longer relegated to the sidelines of healthcare debates, infertility was now front and center, demanding the attention of lawmakers, medical professionals, and everyday Americans. The stage was set for a contentious and consequential battle over the future of reproductive rights in America. To fully grasp the significance of Trump's IVF executive order, it's crucial to understand the backdrop against which it was signed. The overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2023 sent shockwaves through the nation, stripping away the constitutional right to abortion and ushering in an era of uncertainty and fear for reproductive rights. Many states swiftly enacted restrictive abortion laws, leaving countless individuals with limited options and fueling a sense of urgency to protect reproductive autonomy. The fall of Roe v. Wade cast a long shadow over any discussion of reproductive health care, including IVF. Advocates for reproductive rights argued that the overturning of Roe was part of a broader attack on reproductive freedom, with IVF potentially becoming the next target. They pointed to the fact that some anti-abortion groups view IVF as morally objectionable due to the possibility of discarding embryos. This context heightened the stakes surrounding Trump's executive order, with both supporters and critics viewing it through the lens of the post-Roe landscape. The overturning of Roe v. Wade had created a climate of fear and uncertainty for many Americans, particularly women. The right to control one's own body and reproductive choices, once considered sacrosanct, was now under threat. This sense of vulnerability extended to the realm of IVF, as concerns arose that access to assisted reproductive technologies could be curtailed or even outlawed in some states. The IVF executive order, therefore, arrived at a pivotal moment, offering a glimmer of hope to those who feared further erosion of their reproductive rights. The timing of Trump's executive order was no coincidence. In the wake of Roe v. Wade's demise, the issue of reproductive rights had become a political lightning rod, energizing both sides of the aisle. By wading into the debate with an executive order on IVF, Trump was making a calculated move to appeal to his conservative base, while also potentially attracting moderate voters concerned about the future of reproductive health care. The executive order, therefore, served as a strategic maneuver in the larger political chess game surrounding reproductive rights in America. The executive order itself was relatively brief, lacking the kind of granular detail typically found in legislation. It directed federal agencies, particularly the Department of Health and Human Services, to explore ways to reduce the cost of IVF treatments and make them more accessible to Americans. The order called for a review of existing regulations, research funding opportunities, and potential public-private partnerships to achieve these goals. While the executive order laid out a broad vision for expanding IVF access, it remained short on specifics. It did not mandate insurance coverage for IVF, a key demand of advocates who argue that the high costs of treatment create significant barriers for many families. The order also did not specify how federal agencies should address the issue of cost, leaving open the possibility of a patchwork approach with varying levels of effectiveness across states. The lack of concrete details in the executive order drew criticism from some quarters. Opponents argued that the order was nothing more than a symbolic gesture, long on rhetoric but short on substance. They pointed to the absence of any new funding mechanisms or concrete policy proposals as evidence that the order was more about generating headlines than enacting meaningful change. Others, however, maintained a more optimistic outlook, viewing the executive order as a first step in a longer process of addressing the issue of IVF affordability. Despite its brevity, the executive order did signal a shift in the federal government's approach to IVF. By formally recognizing the financial burden of infertility treatments and directing federal agencies to explore solutions, the Trump administration was acknowledging the issue's importance and potentially paving the way for future policy interventions. How these interventions would take shape and what impact they would have on the lives of ordinary Americans remain to be seen. Section 4. A flurry of executive action. The IVF executive order was just one of several signed by President Trump on February 18, 2025. In a flurry of activity, he also issued an executive order outlining the oversight functions of the Office of Management and Budget and a presidential memorandum demanding radical transparency from the government regarding wasteful spending. These actions, coming in quick succession, highlighted the administration's focus on fiscal responsibility and government efficiency. The timing of these seemingly unrelated executive orders raised eyebrows among political observers. Some speculated that the simultaneous release was a deliberate attempt to bury the IVF order amidst a flurry of other news, potentially mitigating any backlash from conservative groups opposed to government intervention in reproductive health care. Others viewed it as a sign of the administration's desire to project an image of productivity and decisiveness, even if the long-term impact of these orders remained unclear. The other executive orders signed that day dealt with a range of issues, from streamlining bureaucratic processes to enhancing cybersecurity measures. While seemingly disparate, these orders shared a common thread of seeking to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the federal government. This focus on government reform had become a hallmark of Trump's second term as he sought to leave his mark on the machinery of government. The sheer volume of executive orders issued on February 18, 2025, underscored the significant power wielded by the president in shaping policy. With the stroke of a pen, Trump was able to enact his agenda on a wide range of issues, bypassing the often gridlocked legislative process. While this approach drew criticism from some who argued that it undermined the role of Congress, it also highlighted the president's ability to act swiftly and decisively on matters of national importance. Section 5. Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency. Adding another layer of intrigue to the day's events was the role of Elon Musk, who had been appointed to head the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, earlier that year. The transparency memorandum signed by Trump specifically tasked DOGE with identifying waste, fraud, and abuse in government spending, putting Musk's agency front and center in the administration's push for fiscal responsibility. Musk's appointment to DOGE had been met with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Supporters lauded his entrepreneurial spirit and track record of innovation, arguing that he would bring a fresh perspective to the often stodgy world of government bureaucracy. Critics, however, questioned his lack of experience in government and expressed concerns about potential conflicts of interest, given his vast business holdings. The Transparency Memorandum gave Musk a high-profile platform to make his mark on government. Tasked with rooting out inefficiency and waste, he wasted no time in implementing his trademark brand of disruptive innovation. From streamlining procurement processes to introducing artificial intelligence into budget analysis, Musk's tenure at DOGE was anything but conventional. Musk's involvement in the Trump administration added a further layer of complexity to the already intricate world of Washington politics. His outsider status and unconventional approach made him both an asset and a liability for the president, who simultaneously embraced and sought to control his maverick tendencies. The relationship between Trump and Musk, much like their individual approaches to governing, was characterized by a unique blend of pragmatism and showmanship.